Well, good morning to our viewers. Good morning to our listeners. And it is Tuesday. It is around that time of day, 10:30. And this is where we introduce you and welcome you to She Speaks for yet another amazing Tuesday morning. This morning, we've got the privilege, the honor of highlighting a ceiling breaker, a mover and shaker. She's defining roles because she happens to be now the first leader of an opposition party in that of Grenada. So that's definitely we've never seen that before. And she is that of Honorable Emmalin Pierre, the leader of the New National Party. And the leader of Her Majesty's opposition. So this is going to be the woman that we're going to be highlighting today. And her journey has been a very interesting one. And you know what She Speaks does? She Speaks is pulling on the stories, the journeys of persons like Emmalin Pierre, who continues to show that it's possible. And you know what? If you put your mind to it, you can definitely continue to pour in and make absolute positive breakthroughs and make impacts, create impacts that could change a society, could change a region, could change the world, in effect. So that is our show this morning. When we come back, we've got to take a word from the partner, of course, the First National Bank. And when we come back, we will definitely be starting our conversation.
It all started with a penny. For over 85 years, we have invested in our farmers, fishermen, people, and our country. When we were called to serve, we were here. We understand what is valuable to our people and our country. That is why we support all industries, including tourism. We are the bridge towards a brighter future and economic growth. When our people, government, and businesses called upon us, we were here. 85 years later, First National Bank St. Lucia Limited is here for you.
Wonderful. Welcome to She Speaks for today, Tuesday, the 8th of April, 2025. Our guest today is the Honorable Emmalin Pierre, the opposition leader of the New National Party. And we are so honored. Emmalin, you don't even understand how much of an honor it is for me to be here this morning and have you as a guest. So let me say welcome to you. I think your microphone is off, so you might want to check, put your mic on. Thank you so much again for joining me this morning. Yes, there you are. Right. We're there now. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning to all of your listeners.
I'm not hearing you.
All of your viewers. No?
I don't understand why. Oh, I'm not hearing her.
Any better?
Just 1 minute. Let's take a little break. Well, let's maybe bring you down a bit, and let's take a little break and try to rectify that issue there once and for all. So, we're just gonna take a little music in the background while I try to regulate her audio. All right. So let's try to regulate the audio, and then we're going to take it from there because this is very vital conversation this morning. We can't miss a bit on this one. So definitely give us a minute. Let's regulate. again, we do apologize. We've been having some technical problems there with our audio. Honorable Emmalin is there. She's been there early, and I have to apologize to her because, but I'm so excited. We need to have that conversation. We need to have it properly. So we are not going to do anything halfway because it will make absolutely no sense. And I have my technical guy who is now right now working, and we trying to get this rectified. All right, so please bear with us 2 minutes, and he's efficient. He's also a greensman. He's also a greensman. So you know what? We understand the importance of this conversation here. So he understands. There's some. Oh, okay, exactly. Wow. Wow. Why? Right. I think we got it. I think we got it sorted out. Let me just make sure. So I know that's, oh my goodness. Yeah. I think we got it sorted out. So yeah, that should be better. Let me see. Right. So let me turn this off. I don't have to turn this off. Right. Good. We play this. Hold on. Oh, well, I'm telling you, that's one of the most efficient men. Understand what I'm saying? Every woman should have a man like that in their life. Big up to Fire. You understand? Fire has really fixed it and got this sorted out. So let's go back up with Honorable. Let's see. We should be there now. Hello and good morning.
Good morning. Good
There
morning.
you are.
Good morning to your viewers and your listeners.
Oh my goodness. Listen, my
Good morning to
apologies.
Fire.
I know, yeah. Fire always there to make sure that we handle these things properly. So thank you so much for your patience and your understanding. But I know, you understand how important it is, because I did explain how important it is that journeys like yourselves continues to inspire our people. And sometimes you're just doing it because it's what you do, and you're not even realizing that you're impacting so many lives. So it's very vital and critical for a platform like this one to be able to highlight women like yourself, to remind you that, hey, you're doing something awesome. And also for persons looking in to say, well, okay, it can be done. So thank you again so much for saying yes at the last minute.
Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Okay, normally what we do on She Speaks, we normally break things, lighten up things a bit, because everybody might know the Emmalin Pierre now. This figure, in the political realm. But you know what? This all started way back, and it started from birth. It started from your upbringing. It started from your childhood. Some of the principles that were instilled in you as a child that you believe has contributed to the person that you are today, that you're proud of. So let's go back there. Let's take it back to childhood.
So just before you go to childhood, just a little clarification. So we did have a female opposition leader for a very short period, Mrs. Winifred Strawn. I'm quite sure
Oh, yes,
remember her.
I remember.
For a
Yes,
short
I
period.
remember.
And she's actually coincidentally from the same constituency that I'm from, Financial Southeast.
Nice.
So she would have served for a short period as leader of Her Majesty's then opposition. But I'm the first female political leader of the New National Party.
Oh, okay. All right. Wonderful. And maybe if everything goes well, maybe the new prime minister as well, and that will be welcome, because trust me, we have not been seeing a lot of the females in that regard, and we're hearing a lot of the people are saying, why don't we see more women, in that position, So I think this is a good win. We have Mia over there. I think we've had Portia before in Jamaica, and why not? Absolutely, why not? So let's take it into childhood, and then of course we're going to come back to that that part. Let's talk about you back then. As a child, what are some of the principles? What sort of a household? What do you believe some of the principles that grounded you and has contributed to the person that you are today?
Mhm. So I grew up in a very small village, the village of Birch Grove, and I'm sure you're very familiar.
Absolutely.
I normally describe it as the coldest part of Birch Grove, so the part that's closer to Granite.
Granted.
And I grew up in a very small family. My mother, my father, and my other two siblings. I'm sure you remember my brother who died
Yeah.
some years ago. He was our baby, baby brother, only brother. And my father, though, interestingly, had a number of other children beside those that he had with my mom, which is quite a common thing in a Grenadian Caribbean setting. So my father, although my mom only had three of us, my father had 11 children in total. But
Oh,
what I admire about my mom up to this day is that she embraced every child of my
oh,
father, every single one. And so I remember them spending time at our house. There was never, from my observation, a moment where I figured she was treating us different to them. And I
mm.
admire that because family is everything. These children didn't come on their own and
Exactly.
just automatically be my father's children. So I admire that about my mom. She embraced them and they came home, they spent time with us. So we grew up in a small community. But what was significant about those years, agriculture
Mm.
was what provided food and would have sent us to school and took care of our family. So it was not my father's land and property, but his family. And so we grew up in this, fortunately for us, a lot of lands available. So nutmeg, cocoa, bananas. And so as a child, I believe I was grounded in discipline through those activities. So you had to get up in the morning, you had to take care of the rabbits, you had to take care of
Yeah.
the dogs. You come from school and there were chores that had to do with the land. So you had to go pick up the nutmegs.
Yes.
There were days when, back in the days of geese, you had to go carry the boxes. I still believe
Yes.
the injury to my neck has to do with that. And on the days when nutmegs were being harvested, you had to go pick them up, take them to the nutmeg receiving station. And so agriculture was a very integral part. Nobody escaped. Nobody escaped that in the house. And then you had church for me, which was a critical component. Interestingly, my parents did not go to church, interestingly. And from a very, very young age, I took it on my own that this is something that had to be part of my regular routine. And so I probably thinking back now, it could have been other women who would have inspired me. So I think about people like Teacher Marcia in the community who was involved in the choir, involved in all the activities in the church. And so I followed her. And that is why it's so important for us as women to inspire younger girls. So I remember when I started teaching, Teacher Marcia was also the teacher that inspired me. I looked up to and so I really do believe that all of those very early activities in my life contributed significantly. But there was a part of me that was always bubbling to do other things, community wise. And very young, I still can't explain it. Very, very young, I was a teenager at the time. I went around in the community asking people, would you like to be part of a community group? And I look back today and I'm wondering, what were these men thinking when they decided to join the organization? But at the time, it was about youth development. There were a lot of concerns about young people and what was happening, the signs that were emanating at the time. And so quite a number of people rallied around me. We formed an organization within the community. And of course, we became very, very active and we got a lot of support from the older persons in the community. One person would have made back then, I'm not sure if you recall, Bamboo Bar in
Yes.
Brooklyn.
Yes. Hmm.
Owner of that facility gave his place to be used at any time for any activity. He was 100% supportive. And those were the days when I believe communities would have rallied behind people for community development. So I got very, very actively involved in leadership at the community level as a teenager. I don't know what was happening at that.
It was divine. It was divine. That's the only explanation.
And so we organized a lot of fundraising activities, did a lot in the community, got people involved. And well, of course, around 18 thereabouts, I left that community. Of course, I started going on to doing my own my own thing. I got married at 19, very young. I was just always busy to get things done. So I got married at 19, relocated, and I think that's probably where my childhood years between school. So I attended Birch Grove IRC School, St. Matthew's IRC, right in the community. So you walked to go there. And my very early stint as a teacher, I actually taught there, right? So it was such a, to actually go back to the school where you started and to be a teacher there for a couple of years. And well, of course, I went on to the St. Andrew Anglican Secondary School as a young girl, as a child. And SAS, of course, I believe would have done so much to shape me, to help shape me. In addition to my community, I think that was another stepping stone. I got the opportunity to lead again, whether it was the student council, whether it was as head prefect, whether it was being part of the debating club. And that is why I say to parents, don't restrict children from extracurricular activities, because I think those would have helped in a tremendous way to shape me into who I am today as well. So again, something was always just pushing itself out. So I remember the school receiving, I can't remember if it was a whole container of books, and those books were just lying in a room there. And one day I went to the principal and I said, can I lead the project to create a library for the school? And I remember after school, hours and hours and hours, just packing up books and getting other students involved, and in our school, SAS, at the time, to be the head prefect was like to be a teacher.
Yeah.
So principal insisted that you had to call her Miss Frank. So I was the head prefect girls. And there was a certain level, even today, I meet students who went to SAS younger than myself, and they still call me Miss Frank.
Miss Frank.
It was absolutely a necessity. There was no excuse. You had to have respect for your head prefect, and whatever they directed you to do, you had to do it. So people were running to classes and trying to get into classes, not because they saw the teachers coming, but if they saw the head prefects coming, they would have moved the same way that they moved for a teacher. So those very, very early years would have really shaped me. And I have to give credit to my childhood. I grew up in a home where particularly my father was very strict. But God bless his soul, because at the time, and I say to young people, sometimes you can feel like your parents don't care, they don't love you, they're mean, And maybe as a child, that's how I felt, because you couldn't just leave and walk out and go down the road, even if it was next door. You couldn't do that. You couldn't be home past a few hours after school ended.
Exactly.
Is when I tell children that now, they laugh, they make fun out of this. Miss, you had to be back home before 6 o'clock. Of course. You go to the fair. And you had to be back home by 6. Nowadays, students are leaving home at 6 to go to
the fair. That is so true. That is
very, very strict. And while I probably would not grow my children exactly as he grew me up, but I believe that parents have to provide some measure of discipline.
Yes.
In growing, children cannot just be left to do whatever they want, when they want, how they want, because you don't get the best out of them. So I remember, I'll just share this little story with my dad. And sometimes parents don't understand how they can kill what is growing in a child. And I remember I used to suffer from these very terrible headaches, and my parents never knew that something was going on there. So you know how parents could have been. Maybe now it's different. So they always thought I was pretending, like I was trying to get away from.
From the work or to, oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, and
I
it's
had
many
that.
years after they realized, well, something was definitely wrong. But I remember that particular day, I stayed in my room because I had a really terrible headache. But then I remembered, the group had an ice cream sale. I'm the president. How do you not show up? So I got up in the middle of that headache and I said to my father, can I go down just to make sure everything is okay and then I'll come back? And well, they agreed. I went down there. I made sure everything was okay. But then they were going to another location to sell the ice cream. And you get caught up. You forgot you had a headache. You forgot you said that you were coming back shortly. And so I went down with them and I'm taking out ice cream, scooping it out and selling ice cream. And I never forget this. I heard a man shout. There were like about 300 people there. It was a big community. And I heard a man shouted from a distance, Emmalin, your father come in. And I looked around. In the midst of the crowd, my father was coming with a belt. 300 people. The truth is, I dropped the spoon, I dropped the ice cream cone, and I ran from there to my home. I got there before him. I don't know how. He was driving. I was running. I got home before him. I'm just sharing that to say how strict they were,
Yeah.
And looking back now, you understood that. I mean, my dad died, and I'm really happy that before he died, I was receiving this regional award, youth award, and he was present. And I had that opportunity to say, Dad, I am thankful. I am grateful for the way that you grew me up. I didn't always understand what you were trying to do, but I believe that you would have played a critical role in who I am today.
Absolutely. Wow. Well, we fast forwarded right into who you are today, because a woman in the world of politics, what is normally known to be a male dominated field. It's normally not the very easiest road to travail, especially in these spots. So, you know what? Your entry into politics, and now as the leader of the opposition, we want to know the real deal. What is it like for you as a woman championing this road?
So let me first say, one of the disappointments I have as a woman in politics is that I've come across a number of women who don't mind politics, who don't mind getting involved in politics, but they swear to you they never will. And that grieves me, because these are women who I know can make a difference, they can make a contribution. But because of the political environment, because of what people say, what people do, and how people react to politicians, unfortunately, they never will come into that space. And I believe our countries regionally, we are losing out because sometimes of the level of our politics. So I remember once looking at a live interview where another woman was on, and I couldn't believe it. The things that people were referring to, her nose, the things that really absolutely did not matter, right? And unfortunately, not every woman can deal with this. So I remember one political party just dropping a hint that a particular person was going to be a possible candidate in an election a couple cycles ago. And the moment it became public, the things that was said about that woman, it was so unfortunate. Within an hour of the news breaking, she announced that she would not be going forward.
Wow.
So I'm saying that to say that there are good people, really good people, who choose not to make a contribution to change, to effect change in their communities and their country, because they are not prepared to go through some of the things that politicians go through. And of course, women might be more affected by those things than men. Men might not even listen, and the things men get away with,
Yeah. Yeah.
quite obviously. I was in St. Lucia some time ago, and I was listening, to a particular conversation about some comments that were made about a particular woman going up. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate sometimes the levels that we go. And if only we can elevate. I mean, for persons like myself, I've been doing this like 21 years. So I normally make the joke and say my back is like callaloo leaf right now. So what you say just rolls off. It doesn't go on.
Right.
So, but of course, it didn't start that way. In the first couple of years, it mattered what people say. It affected me what people say. But how many people are prepared to stick to it, to go through it? And the reason I always say I am still here 21 years is because I understand why. Why am I doing this? I'm not doing this because I just love to be in the spotlight. As a matter of fact, you try doing a photo shoot with me. You're gonna because in front of the camera. I mean, I do it naturally because over the years, you just understand you have to. But it's not something like you're so thrilled about and you're so excited. Oh, I'm going on TV today. No, you do this because you really well, I do it because I really genuinely care about people. And when I see people grow, when I see people thrive, when I see people get an opportunity, for me, that's my excitement. It's not a travel. It's not a photo shoot. It's not a camera or the microphone that comes in front of you. So if ever there's a day where you probably feel discouraged, I go back to my why. Emmalin, why are you doing this? How could you allow something someone say to discourage you when your why is so much bigger? So my why is what keeps me going. And I'll tell you the other thing about this, because I would imagine for any woman, even thinking of getting into politics, the first or the second thought, so you first think you want to get involved, and then the second thought would be, oh my God, these things they're going to say about me. And
Yeah.
many women, that's where it stops. They don't go beyond that. The other thing for me is I'm very protective of my mental space. Very protective. So a lot of times the thing that people say, I never heard and I don't want to hear. I'm not going to listen. If you're talking to me about how I can improve something, if you're talking to me about something that can be done better or something that can be improved, certainly I'm ready to listen, right? I'm very good at listening in that regard. But if you start talking about my nose and my this and my that, and things that would waste my time listening to, would, upset my mental space, I'm not going to. This is why I hardly listen to local news. I have to apologize. So there are people who are supportive enough to tell me what in the news that I need to know.
Right.
And they probably send me a clip and I listen. But sometimes the things that you hear, obviously, you're not just wasting your time listening, but you're also upsetting your mental space. You also, you're creating disorder. And for me, I'm very protective of that. So I don't go following Facebook posting and read. And I said to one of my colleagues one day, no, 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 you can't do that. You cannot go reading every comment that everybody makes. Because number one, that's time consuming. But number two, you are doing an injustice to your own self. It's like listening negative all day, just listening, processing all day. This is unhealthy for anybody, not just a politician. And so very often you look at Facebook as a perfect example. And for me, it can shock me very much. And sometimes I prefer not to be shocked. The comments coming from certain people, because unfortunately, you would have had them in your mind at a certain level. And then when you examine how they think, how they reason, you say, wow, is that the same person? That must be a fake page. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, the challenges that women go through when they enter the political space. And I'll give you an example of when I just got into politics, my very early days, probably within the first year. I remember it was part of a retreat setting, and something was said by one of my colleagues. And she was just repeating what somebody said. And I literally cried. This is my first introduction into this thing. And if I give you the story of how I got into it, you would understand why I was affected, because I didn't come here for this. I came here to serve. I came here to work. What is this about?
Exactly.
That is not what I signed up for. So I immediately broke down crying. Sitting next to me was, and this is just somebody, one of my colleagues, saying what somebody told them about me. Sitting next to me was Roland Bowler, another colleague, parliamentary representative. He may not remember, but I remember until today what he whispered to me. He said, eggs have no place in Rockstone dance. I nailed it. This day I probably would remind him. And then I got myself together. I pulled myself together. I said, hey, no. You got to be joking. And, for any young politician, they would go through that phase, except you're not human. But over time, and I say to people, just give it time, because over time you understand. And from my end, because I've been trained as a coach, for example, I've been trained in emotional intelligence, it's a plus for me.
Right.
What might affect you definitely would not affect me, because I say to persons, sometimes when people behave a particular way, I've seen one person said to me, they were literally paid to go under my page and just to be posting negative things, right? Now, you start empathizing with people, and that's the level that I think I am. You attack me, and I don't see the attack. I don't. No, and I'm speaking about malicious attacks now.
Yeah.
I see somebody who might need help, right? I see somebody who may have a deeper problem. Because for you to be after me like this, something must be something absolutely to be wrong, right?
Absolutely.
And so this is how I process this. I literally feel sorry for some people who go after people with absolutely no cause. And the forgiving spirit in me, I hold no bones. I hold nothing against such persons. But the question is, how many people literally can deal with this? Especially if you're talking about people who have an alternative. For example, there are people who are prepared to give up their income, which is more than what they would make in politics.
Yeah.
They're not prepared to do that for what they have to go through. So you listen out on a quality person because of the pettiness in that space. I remember, and I did say to you, as a child, I suffered with a lot of headache. It was only in my last year in secondary school that I was diagnosed as having a brain tumor, right? And the story, of course, is really miraculous how this disappeared. I took treatment for about 6 months, and I just literally in faith. I mean, trust me when I tell you, faith for me, it's the substance of what you can see. It's beyond what you can see. And so I remember my very first election campaign. I'm traveling to a public meeting that I had organized. And on the way, there's another public meeting of another political party. And as I drove past, the person on the microphone, maybe they saw my vehicle, and the person on the microphone said, will you vote for somebody who had a brain tumor?
Oh my God.
Somebody who had a brain tumor. And I said to myself, oh my God, health is something you just don't know what you're going to have tomorrow, right?
Oh gosh.
Now, I'm celebrating. I mean, this is more than 20 years that for me, it's just such a joy to know that you had something that you didn't die from, you didn't suffer from, and you were able to survive.
and still serve and make positive contribution.
Somebody came back there.
Yes.
Somebody, yeah, she had a brain tumor when she was, X or Y was that age.
Oh God.
And those are some of the things I'm saying to you. There are good people that will not come into the space because they're not prepared to deal with that level of pettiness. For me, I always say, I want to discuss issues. I want to
Yeah.
discuss change, positive change. I want to discuss how you can make the lives of people better, right? And the things people are prepared to discuss, it's frightening. I've
Yeah.
heard things about my children, things about my husband. Sometimes you just, at this stage, 21 years after, sometimes you just sit back in the living room and you laugh about it, and So I remember one campaign, it was said that my husband stuck me up with a gun. And you can laugh about those things, but we gotta lift the bar
Bar.
in
Yeah.
politics. And I really am making a regional appeal to lift the bar in politics. Let us attract people who can make a valuable contribution. Let us attract people. Let us not reduce it. So you should not be going downwards in terms of the quality of people that you attract into the space.
Yes.
And for all of us within the space, we have to be prepared as well. Because if you listen to my campaigns, you go back and I don't even mention my opponent's name.
Right.
I chose not to even mention his name or her name.
Right.
It's about issues. It's about what is most important. Yeah.
But the buy-in now, because you see, the thing for them, they seem to think that they can reach the audience with the nonsense. So again, you're trying to attract votes. So it's normally a very I don't know how to put it, but sometimes normally they have to say good people don't end up in the spaces where they need to, because the appetite of the voters most of the time seems to be that they gravitate towards the nonsense or the pettiness, and then they seems to be the ones who are targeted, and then the votes come out, and then you get these people in the numbers outnumbering the people who really wants to bring substance to the space. So how do we fix this?
And that's why sometimes we end up with a government that we shouldn't have.
Right, exactly. And it happens a lot of the time.
The worst thing that can happen is that you influence a voter with a lie or a promise that you cannot fulfill. And you end up with this government, and then 2 days after you want to change again.
Yeah.
And this is sad. And that is why politicians have to take responsibility to lift the bar as well, right? Because at the end of the day, we have a responsibility to set standards in this space. We have a responsibility to ensure that we represent truth.
Yeah.
So you don't have to lie to win.
You don't have to get dirty, and messy.
And I can say this, I've won 3 times and I never got dirty. I never had to lie to do that. You can be honest. Sometimes you go through my constituency, and I challenge anybody to do that. And people would often say it's a tag that has been attached to me. She don't like to make promises. Right. Because if you're not careful, you can get caught up in making promises that you cannot fulfill. So very rare, I have to be absolutely certain that I can do this to tell you that I would do it. And I become very, very careful about personal promises, right? So yes, you can make those promises, whether it's housing, whether it's agriculture, whether it's those things that as an administration, but the personal promises, people I've seen already in some campaigns. 5 people have promised that they're going to be the commissioner of police. They're going to be the attorney general. Election went, and some of these people are angry now, and they're looking for another place that they can engage where there is truth, and people are upfront and honest with them, and politicians must understand this. If you lie your way in, if you discredit others to get your way in, it's going to be very difficult to survive in that space. And that is why I remember in the Grenada setting some years ago when we spoke about oil and gas, right? Now, we were accused of making up a story just to win votes. Right. And I feel so proud of our organization that the current administration is now talking oil and gas. The same administration that said
It
was
was
a
a
lie.
story.
They are now trying to convince people that yes, there is potential oil and gas. And so you have to be consistent. So in government, we actually supported the CBI program. Albeit now in opposition, we are very fearful about some of the things we are seeing in the program, but we are not going to be irresponsible and dishonest to say we don't support CBI. We support the CBI program. However, we would want to see it managed in a particular way. We would want to see a certain level of due diligence. We would want to see a certain level of scrutiny of these people who are coming forward. We would want to see a certain level of management of this program. And so consistency, whether you're in opposition or in government, doesn't mean that your position would not change. And I'll give you another perfect example. In the last general election, people asked, what's your position on marijuana? So our organization said, we have no problem decriminalizing, right? A young man who made well, let's call it a mistake, a judgment at 19, and now he's 25 trying to get a job. He has changed his life around. Let's go the extreme and say he's a preacher. Now he has transformed his life. And coming from a guy on the block to a totally transformed person, you cannot deny him an opportunity because he has something on his record from back then. So we believe that there must be consideration in that case. We're prepared to decriminalize. We are not prepared to legalize because we believe that this requires a lot more investigation, a lot more studies, a lot more consideration for our culture. And not just our culture, but certain trends that we are seeing as it relates to youth development. So at a time when it's not legalized, principals are complaining about the use of marijuana in schools. Now, what is legalizing going to do? Right? So you want to tread carefully with decisions like this. So this was our position to the electorates. The other party heard our position, and I guess the response was, no, we got to get the votes of those people who want this thing to be legalized. And they announced, we are not going to just decriminalize, we are going to legalize marijuana. And so there were quite a number of people who were happy to hear that. Quite a number of people that probably did not stop to listen our argument of why we don't rush something like this, right? So I remember there was the conversation of religion. So, I mean, I've been to a Nyabingi tabernacle before, and so I understand why a Nyabingi or Rastafarian would have their reservations from a religious perspective. And they would argue with you, in the Catholic Church, you burn incense. So why should we be able to burn what we want to burn based on religion? And I remember the conversation of exemptions, exceptions, right? But it's a conversation that you have to be so very cautious to move it from conversation to action, because now everybody going to proclaim that they're a big everybody proclaim you're Rastafarian, even if you just have straight or curly hair, right? So it means that certain decisions, you have to make sure that you flesh it out properly, you discuss it, you ventilate it properly, you consult on it properly before final decisions. You don't allow the voter to drive you to make a promise that you don't know you can keep. Absolutely. And so the administration came into office, I'm quite sure, supported by quite a number of people who wanted legalization of marijuana. And in the last budget presentation in just about a month ago, the government announced that is not moving at this time to legalize. This is almost 3 years, almost 3 years. And that's what I'm saying. In the political space, we have to be responsible. We have to be honest with people. We have to ensure that what we're saying as promises are not things that are totally out of reach. Again, another final example in the Grenada setting, where all public servants were promised they were going to be made permanent within 1 year of a government assuming office. We know that was impossible. It's almost 3 years. And some of the same people who were promised they were going to be made permanent, these people are given contracts. And I'm saying all this to say, particularly as women, maybe we can lead in that regard. Maybe we can lead in that regard to be responsible when we go on the platform, to make sure that what we're promising are things that are possible, not just tricks to get voters to buy into our agenda.
Absolutely. Well, Honorable Pierre, we have come to where we have to wrap up. But in closing, absolutely an admirer, absolutely a rooter for you as well, in that space, like you said, because we need to see more women who are going to defy the odds and push through, regardless of the space. Because, like you said, there's a lot of female that could be making some very vital contribution to that space, but are shying away from it because of the environment. So happy that persons like yourself, no politics involved. Now, this is just strictly from a female standpoint, who is saying to you, we are happy that you did not let that cower you away, and you're standing firm and making that contribution regardless. So I want to say commendation to you on that front. But anything you would like to throw there? So any possible or potential women within the space who might be doing what we describe, and reminding them why it is necessary for them to stand firm and push through.
So the first thing I would say is this: find your why. And your why doesn't have to be that you want to be a politician. Let
Right.
your why be that you want to serve people. You want to help people to reach their fullest potential. If you sit there and yes, I had no plans, no intention, it was never in my thought to be a politician. But if your why is about people, love for people, and opportunities like these come forward where you can serve people in a greater way. So I could have stuck to just my little community. But when the opportunity came to serve nationally, I accepted it because it was about the why. It was connecting back to the why. So I encourage women to find your why. Why do you do what you do? And let your why guide you wherever it takes you, wherever it takes you. It may not take you to becoming a politician, right? It may not take you to that, but it may take you to somewhere where you know you are reaching your fullest potential, serving in that potential for the benefit of others. But to those who have an interest in politics, let me say this: do not allow anything or anyone to hold you back. If you have an interest in politics, pursue it. Pursue it. Go after it. There are so many different levels in politics you can serve. Get involved. Because I'll tell you why. Our communities, our nations would be better off when more women get involved. I believe in equality. I do not believe, not for a moment, that there is anything about being woman that prevents you from serving with excellence, to serve as just as good as a man and sometimes even better. I don't believe there's anything that is tied to gender. I always say this: leadership is about competence. Are you competent to lead? Leadership is about vision. Do you have a vision of where you want to take people? And leadership is about integrity, right? And so I'm saying to women out there is nothing critical about leadership that has to do with gender. So if you're out there and you're thinking that because you're a woman, you don't want to get involved and this is not for you, this is a man's world, please rethink, because it's really not man's world. Women have their place in every place in society. They have their place. And I believe in equality. I also believe in equity, because when a woman gets into the space, her gender must not become the conversation, because
Absolutely.
that's reducing not just who you are as a man, but it's also reducing a woman. Too many people have fought, have died for what we enjoy today as women. We got to protect it. And I believe many of our men out there, I always say this: a man who supports a woman is a real man.
Absolutely.
That man
Absolutely.
understands the importance of the contribution a woman can make in any space. And so I want to just encourage all of the women out there, whichever part of the Caribbean that you're listening from, pursue, pursue. Do not allow obstacles to hold you back. Do not even allow them to stop you. God bless all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Honorable Pep, thank you so very much. And we wish you the very best moving into the years to come. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, and all the best to you as well. Keep doing what you do.
Absolutely. And we'll stay in contact for sure. Certainly. So guys, there you had it. Honorable Emmalin Pierre, the leader of the New National Party of Grenada, the NNP, and also the leader of the opposition. So she is the first ever female leader of the NNP, vying the next election. She will be vying for the title of Prime Minister, and who knows, if all goes well, she just might become the first female Prime Minister of Grenada. So definitely, we're honored to have her this morning. We had to go a little over time because we had some technical issues in starting up. So we started a little late. So we do appreciate you guys sticking around for the conversation. And until next Tuesday, when we are here again with another She Speaks show, that's our show for today. Thank you guys for viewing. Thanks for your comments. Thank you so very much. And of course, the program remains on our YouTube channel and also on our Facebook feed. So anybody who probably joined in late need to go and review it, you definitely can do so. Thanks to the First National Bank, and Hyper is up next. I'll be back at 2.
It all started with a penny. For over 85 years, we have invested in our farmers, fishermen, people, and our country. When we were called to serve, we were here. We understand what is valuable to our people and our country. That is why we support all industries, including tourism. We are the bridge towards a brighter future and economic growth. When our people, government, and businesses called upon us, we were here. 85 years later, First National Bank St. Lucia Limited is here for you.
Access Productions for the 22nd